Welcome to Community Chat. I'm Mark Young from Mesa United Way.
And I'm Sally Harrison with the Mesa Chamber of Commerce.
And we're glad that you've joined us today. We're going to talk about a pretty serious and important subject today, and I'm going to turn it over to Sally and have her tell you why this subject has come up and why it's important to us.
So today we're here to talk about teen suicide. Last fall in September, we had headlines in the local paper that read 7 teens in 6 weeks have lost their lives to teen suicide. And having gone through the loss of a child about 11 years ago, I really felt like I didn't want to watch other families go through what I had gone through. So after reading some of the information, I reached out to Katie McPherson and also to Jim, who had written the piece in the paper, and really started to talk about what's happening in our community, because at that point we realized it was more than just the 7 students. It really was lots of students reaching far and wide in the East Valley. And so I asked Katie for some information, and we brought her in to really give us a little more detail than what we knew.
So Katie, tell us a little bit about who you are and why this topic is important to you.
Sure. I'm Katie McPherson, and I'm so honored to be part of this conversation and movement in the East Valley. I do a lot of child advocacy work on behalf of several organizations, one being the Gurian Institute and another group called the ECRA Group. And we really focus on brain-based teaching strategies for children, but we also do a ton of work in many communities and nationally on social emotional supports for our students. And just specifically in the East Valley where I live, a lot of parents are reaching out for help, really needing some social emotional supports for their students as we look at things like social media and academics being really stressful for these kids, and just recognizing that it's not just a Valley problem. Statewide, Arizona is up 85% for teen suicide since 2009.
So Sally talked about reading an article in the paper several months ago. What are the numbers now in the East Valley of students who have committed suicide?
Unfortunately, those have tripled, 21 as of today. So starting in May of 2017, when I accidentally stumbled into this, we're currently standing at 21 students, 19 of those being males.
And what kind of work are you doing to be advocates for parents to spread the word of what the struggle is and what needs to take place to help alleviate some of those struggles?
We're really pushing into local communities and doing forums, doing town halls, doing PSA campaigns, really trying to get into the school districts, knowing that their resources are limited, knowing that our guidance counselor ratios at our high schools are 1 to 800 in certain districts. So really just gathering people for a true call to action, not just dancing around it anymore. We are in a true crisis, and this is a call to action.
So that call to action for us includes a partnership with the Mesa Chamber of Commerce, Mesa United Way, Mesa Community College, our friend at Arizona Talks, who's going to talk to you in just a minute. We're putting on an opportunity for people to learn more about that. Carlos, can you talk about Arizona Talks and what this event looks like that we're talking about having in May?
Sure. Thank you so much for inviting me to the conversation as well. First of all, I would just like to say that it is hard to talk about an issue like this. You know, it's easier to listen to the news and talk about the events of the day, but when it comes to actually doing something about an issue that impacts us here in the East Valley, it can be hard to open up that conversation with your family members, with your students, and with your fellow friends at school. This issue popped up because we've been doing forums for the last 2 years on issues ranging from beer to immigration, education, and this is an issue that Arizonans are having to deal with, especially now that we've heard that it's tripled just recently. So we're excited to be part of a coalition of organizations like Mesa United Way and the Chamber to build an event that is not just informative, but where people can actually take action and learn about the issue and know what to do when you get into the situation of having that conversation. You know, many people haven't even thought about this issue, and so part of our goal is to bring it to new ears and parents and students and educators that haven't had to deal with this yet, but their peers have.
Well, and for a lot of people, Katie and Sally, this is someone else's issue until it's your issue, right? I mean, you don't want to talk about it, you don't want to think about it, but there needs to be information in the hands of people so that they are able to notice or recognize when some of these issues may be coming to pass.
I think the biggest learning for me has been really statistically when a student decides, I don't want to be here anymore, the time frame is very short. 15 minutes to 2 weeks is typically the trajectory of this is what I'm going to do. I have a plan and I'm going to carry out the plan. And on that note, as you said, there's no zip code that's held harmless from these issues that are going on. A lot of anxiety, a lot of situational depression really turning into clinical depression. And I think the biggest learning for parents is how do you decipher between typical teenage angst, so to speak, and then when you really truly have an issue on your hands.
Exactly. Sally, when did it come to your mind that we should have an event, that we need to pull community people together and have an honest, robust discussion about the issue that's in front of us?
Honestly, it was the day I read that headline. It just kind of was a gut check for me. You know, when this happened to my family 11 years ago, it really wasn't talked about a lot. And because of the 22-a-day suicide rates for veterans, that's hit mainstream, right? Like everybody talks about that. You see it in social media all the time, and it's become more okay to talk about suicide. And then you see even senior suicide that's become a little more prevalent. Seeing that families are going through this now at the rate families are going through this, you know, I just felt like it was time for us as a community to come together and do something. And having a regional effort makes sense to us because these are all our friends and neighbors that we care about, and what's happening in Queen Creek, you know, affects all of us. So to me, it makes sense to reach out to some professionals that know a lot more than some of us do about this, and pull the right people in to talk about this.
So, Katie, can you tell us why is this a community issue and not just an individual family issue? I mean, 17 people or 21 people that's a lot of students, but in the grand scheme of 65,000 students, is this a big deal for our community, and why?
Well, I think the statistic is once a community, a school has experienced a suicide, you're 4 times as likely to have another student do that same thing. So we know that we're at great risk, and certainly when I look at where the 21 students are coming from, it literally is a 15-mile radius. So those kids know other kids that play ball with other kids at other schools. So it really is a joint effort, and I would say at this point we are in a contagion.
When you have spoken at schools before, what kind of response are you getting from parents and students?
Bewilderment, fear, but then easily turned into courage and action. Our first forum, we literally whipped together in 2 weeks and put out as a grassroots effort of moms and dads on Facebook. We had no district level support where they were, you know, sending flyers out for us or anything like that, and 450 parents showed up. So the urgency's there, the action's there. Parents have been really welcoming to the message, but they are still quite shocked, to be honest.
Carlos, what are we hoping that people will walk away with?
Well, I was going to say it's really working in this project has been so inspiring to meet people like Sally, like Katie, and all those parents.
And of course, like me.
And of course, like you, Mark. Yeah.
Thank you, Carlos.
That are willing to hear about it and talk about it, and actually not just attend an event, but also talk to their peers. And that's what I've found working here is that there are so many resources and so many people that are willing to help. And our job is to connect those two, the student that is talking about it or the family that is having conversations about it. The resources and people need to be connected. And so this is why this event is so important, is because we're trying to make that connection, right? When anybody brings up this topic, there should be action items or at least resources that we know of to point to the right person to do something about it. We can't wait as Katie was saying, this happens right away. We need to take action. And so we do that by impacting how people talk about the issue and hopefully adding the resources and the people there in that conversation.
And there's always a bit of a danger, I think, to having an event around an issue and then there's nothing that comes after the event. So, everybody's concerned, you have an event, and somehow or another the event makes you feel like you did something and it's better. Mm-hmm. The truth is this needs to be an initiating moment for conversations that need to continue really forever. People need to be able to talk about these issues with their kids at their school to really foster a sense of openness and honesty among the students and the faculty and whoever else may be involved.
And that's why the event will feature not only the robust conversation that's happening on the main stage, but there's also going to be counselors available. There's going to be discussion leaders that are going to be targeted to those main demographics, educators, parents, and fellow students. There's also a time where you go to an event and you don't want to participate, where you just feel like you just want to sit there and listen, and we don't want to push people to also participate. So we will have a system of keeping in contact with the people that came and maybe even getting more group meetings together or just making sure that they have the resources available. That's really the main thing about here, is to make an event not just that educates, but where we can take action on the issue.
Excellent. So certainly anyone is welcome to come to this event, but is there a target audience, a group of people that we really would like to see participate that would be most beneficial? This would benefit the most.
In my experience, I think what I've been seeing as part of this movement is we have to start younger. I operate on the rule of 5 years before your student is going to experience anything that's high risk, drugs and alcohol, sexual behavior, changing bodies, whatever it is. Our kids seem to be still kind of in the dark. So starting with 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, all the way through 12th grade students and parents of those students to be armed in a proactive manner. It's a little bit too late sometimes as a parent of a junior to start learning this information. Puberty is starting at age 9. So we really need to be starting with parents of 9-year-olds and talking about when they're 14, these are some of the things that might come up for them. And so you're being really proactive by being here. So for me personally, I'd love to see anybody there. Community agencies, government leaders, parents, teachers, advocates, anybody that would like to come. But student-wise and parent-wise, the younger the student, I think the better off they will be in the long run.
Thank you, Katie. Sally, can you give us some specifics about the event, time, date, so on and so forth?
Sure. It'll be May 9th at Mesa Community College's Performing Arts Center. And I believe we were going to start at 5:30. So it'll be about 4 hours probably by the time we're wrapped up and out of there, giving everybody a chance to get into those breakout sessions, see the vendors that we have or the booths that we have there. So we don't want to shortchange anyone for making the effort to get there. We're looking forward to a good crowd. Would love to see, like Katie said, the younger students there, but really we want to be inclusive, and anybody who will come, we've got a reason for them to be there.
And there's no reason to be frightened by the 4-hour time frame. You're not going to be just sitting listening to talking heads the whole time. There'll be a lot of things going on.
Right.
Carlos and the team at AZ Talks is putting together a strong program that's interactive, that has a lot of information and a lot of opportunity for everybody who comes. So we'd love to have you come join us for that event on May 9th at Mesa Community College in the Performing Arts Center. Registration starts at 5:30. So if you want to register online, how do you do that, Carlos?
You can register online at arizonatalks.org, and we will soon be having a URL where it'll link you to the information, the schedule for the event, and you can register right online. But anybody that is interested can go to arizonatalks.org.
And Arizona Talks is aztalks.org, correct?
Yeah, actually, it's the Arizona spelled out.
Okay.
Yeah,
like
either way it works, but
ignore me.
Yes.
He knows what he's talking about. So, okay, well, thank you very much for joining us, everybody, and we hope to see you on May 9th, and we'll talk to you later.